The sun was hot on the open park, where families laughed and children ran across the grass. Among them was a boy with dark skin, short hair, and a red shirt. He ran slower than the rest, his steps uneven, but his face showed determination. His left leg was metal, a polished prosthetic that gleamed under the light. Every step made a soft clicking sound, but the boy didn't care. For him, it was just another day to prove he could keep up. Two officers in uniform stood near the path, their eyes fixed on the boy. They were not smiling like the families around them. Their attention was sharp, cold, and focused. The taller one nudged his partner and whispered, "That's him." The boy slowed, noticing their gaze. His stomach tightened, but he tried to ignore it. He had grown used to stares. Still, something in their eyes made him uneasy. He turned to leave, but before he could, the officers moved forward, blocking his path. "Stop right there," one ordered. His voice carried authority that silenced the laughter around them. Parents pulled their children back. The park grew quiet, tension spreading like a shadow. The boy froze, raising his arms without thinking, fear rushing into his chest. "What did I do?" he asked, his voice trembling. The officer didn't answer. Instead, he knelt down and grabbed the boy's prosthetic leg. The boy gasped, trying to step back, but the other officer held him steady. With one quick twist, the metal leg was detached. The boy fell hard onto the grass, pain shooting through his body as he cried out. The prosthetic dangled in the officer's grip. The crowd erupted in shocked voices, some shouting at the officers, others too afraid to interfere. "Give it back!" the boy shouted, his small fists hitting the ground. He tried to crawl forward, but the officer kept him at a distance. "This device is government property now," the officer said, his tone flat. Orders from above, the boy's mind spun. Government property? That leg was a gift from his father. His only connection to the man who had disappeared years ago. No one had the right to take it. "Please," the boy begged. "It's mine. My father gave it to me." The officer's eyes flickered, but his grip did not loosen. "Your father's work is not forgotten," he muttered. "We know what he did." Before the boy could ask what he meant, a man in a dark suit came running across the park. His ties swung wildly as he shouted, "Stop! Don't touch that!" His voice was deep, urgent, filled with authority the officers did not expect. The boy looked up through tears, hope flickering. The man's face was stern, his eyes locked on the officers. He moved with a speed that suggested training, not just panic. The officers hesitated, holding the prosthetic tighter. One sneered, "Who are you to interfere? This is official business." The man stopped just a few steps away, his chest heaving. "You don't know what you're holding," he said firmly. "Put it down before you make a mistake," the crowd murmured. People pulled out devices to record the scene, the tension sharp enough to cut through the warm afternoon air. The boy, still on the ground, reached out a trembling hand. "Please," he whispered again, though no one seemed to hear him over the argument above. The officer in white examined the prosthetic closely. His eyes narrowed as he noticed faint markings carved into the metal, markings that looked more like alien runes than human writing. He tapped it lightly, and a soft hum echoed out. The boy's heart skipped a beat. That sound he had heard it once before, late at night, when the leg vibrated against the floor as if alive. His father had told him never to speak of it. Now in the open, it was betraying its secret. The man in the suit took a step forward, his hand half raised. "You don't understand. That device is not just a leg. It's a vault," the officer smirked. "A vault for what?" The man's eyes darted to the boy. For a brief moment, compassion softened his face. "For the truth," the boy's chest tightened. Truth about what? His father? His disappearance? Before anyone could speak again, the prosthetic pulsed with light. A faint blue glow spilled from the seams, casting eerie patterns on the officer's hands. Gasps spread through the crowd. Children clutched their parents. Even the officers faltered, surprise flickering in their eyes. The boy stared in awe, fear, and wonder mixing inside him. He had worn that leg for years, never knowing it was more than metal. And now, in front of everyone, it was revealing its hidden nature. "Turn it off!" One officer shouted, fumbling with the prosthetic. But the glow only grew stronger, and the hum deepened like a heartbeat. The man in the suit clenched his fists. "You fools," he muttered. "You've just awakened it." The boy's breath quickened. Awakened what? The park was no longer filled with laughter or sunshine. It was filled with silence, fear, and the beginning of something no one could yet name. And the boy, lying helpless on the grass, realized his life had just changed forever. Asterisk. The boy sat in a small holding room at the station, his chest still heaving from the shock. His metal leg was gone, taken by strangers who spoke like they owned it. The polished floor felt cold against his skin where his body pressed awkwardly, his one natural leg folded beneath him. He clenched his fists, shame burning in his eyes. All his life, people had stared at him for what he lacked. But now, with the prosthetic gone, he felt stripped of even the little dignity he had. Through the glass wall, he saw the officers talking. Their voices carried into the room in sharp fragments. Alien symbols on the device. Could be dangerous tech. His father's signature work, without doubt. The boy's stomach twisted. His father. Even now, years after the man vanished, his shadow stretched over the boy's life. A sound made him turn. The man in the dark suit entered the room, his footsteps calm, his expression unreadable. He looked out of place among the dull walls and bright lights like someone used to power, but hiding it, under plain fabric. "You chased after us," the boy said, his voice small but filled with curiosity. "Why?" The man studied him for a long moment, then sat on the chair opposite him. His eyes were sharp, but not unkind. "Because I knew your father," the boy's heart jumped. "You knew him? Then tell me. What was he?" "Everyone says different things. Some say he was a hero. Others call him a traitor. Which is it?" The man leaned forward, lowering his voice. "He was both, depending on who you ask. To his people, he broke the rules. To the galaxy, he saved lives." The boy's lips parted. "Saved lives? But they said he abandoned us." The man shook his head slowly. "No, he carried secrets too heavy for any council, any government. He made choices that no one else dared to make. But choices like his leave scars. And when he disappeared, they called it betrayal. It was easier to hate him than to understand him." The boy swallowed hard. He wanted to believe, but doubt clawed at his chest. If his father was a savior, why was he gone? Why did people spit on his name? Why was his son left behind to bear the shame? The door opened again, and one officer entered holding the prosthetic. He placed it on the table between them with a loud metallic thud. The boy's eyes locked on it, his pulse quickening. His fingers twitched, wanting to snatch it back, but he stayed still. "This," the officer said, pointing at the leg, "is not just a child's aid. Look closely. These carvings are not human-made." The man in the suit raised an eyebrow. "You finally noticed," the officer frowned. "Explain this. Was his father working with outsiders? Trading secrets with aliens?" The boy's chest tightened, and his throat burned. He hated hearing those words again. Outsiders, betrayal, alien ties. Always the same accusations, and always tied to his father. The man in the suit kept his voice calm, though his eyes flashed with warning. He was not trading secrets. He was protecting them. That leg was built with pieces of alien design, yes, but not to sell humanity out. It was to shield something greater, the officer scoffed. Shield what? A weapon? The man's lips curved into something close to a grim smile. Not a weapon. A message. The boy leaned forward, his small hands trembling on the edge of the table. A message? From my father? The man glanced at him, eyes steady. Yes, he built that prosthetic for you, not only to walk, but to carry what he could not. He once told me, if my son wears this, he will never be ordinary. He will carry me even when I am gone. The boy blinked, tears filling his eyes. He remembered faintly, his father fastening the leg for the first time, saying words he never understood. This is part of who you are. One day, you'll understand. The officer shook his head, clearly unconvinced. He tapped the prosthetic with a scanner, and the machine beeped wildly. Lines of alien script lit up along the metal, glowing faint blue. Gasps filled the room as the markings pulsed like veins of light. The boy's heart pounded. He had felt it before, late at night when the leg hummed softly. But never had it shone like this. What is it doing? The officer demanded. The man in the suit rose from his chair, his tone sharp. It's responding. It knows it has been tampered with. The boy could not look away. His father's gift was alive in a way he never imagined. All these years, he had walked on something that carried not only his weight, but his father's secret. The man in the suit put a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. Listen to me. Your father's name was blackened by lies, but the truth is locked inside that device. They'll try to claim it as evidence, but you must remember, it was made for you. Asterisk. The boy looked down at the glowing leg, his fear mixing with determination. For the first time in his life, he didn't only see himself as the weak son of a traitor. He saw himself as part of something bigger, a chain tied to a man who may have been more than the world ever admitted. Outside, alarms began to blare. More officers rushed down the hall, shouting orders. The light from the prosthetic grew brighter, casting sharp shadows on the walls. The boy's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried resolve. Then I'll find the truth myself. And in that moment, the shadow of his father no longer felt like a curse. It felt like a path asterisk. The station lights flickered as the prosthetic leg pulsed brighter, glowing with a soft blue light that seemed alive. Officers shouted in confusion, scanners buzzing with warnings they didn't understand. The boy sat frozen, his wide eyes locked on the object that had been part of him for so long. For the first time, he realized it was more than a gift. It was something his father had trusted him with. One officer raised his weapon. Shut it down before it explodes. The man in the suit stepped forward sharply. Stop. If you damage it, you'll lose everything. That device is not dangerous unless you make it so. But the prosthetic had already begun to hum, a deep vibration that filled the room. Strange patterns appeared across its surface, alien runes glowing and shifting like they were alive. The boy's chest tightened. He had seen those shapes in dreams before, though he never understood them. Now they danced in front of him as if calling his name. The man in the suit turned toward him. It's responding to you. Go to it. The boy hesitated, glancing at the officers. Their hands hovered over their weapons, uncertain but ready. He swallowed his fear and crawled closer, his body weak without the prosthetic to support him. He reached out with trembling fingers and touched the glowing metal. The hum stopped. For a long breath, the entire room went silent. Then, from the prosthetic, a voice emerged, calm, steady, and hauntingly familiar. My son, the voice said. The boy's heart skipped. Tears filled his eyes instantly. It was his father's voice. Older, heavier, but still warm. He pressed his hand tighter against the leg, desperate to hear more. If you hear this, it means they've taken what I gave you, the voice continued. I knew this day would come. I built your leg not only to help you walk, but to keep safe what the galaxy was not ready to know. Gasps echoed from the officers. The man in the suit stayed silent, watching with eyes that glimmered with sadness. The boy shook, torn between joy and sorrow. His father's voice was real, but it carried a weight of finality. "Father," he whispered, "you must understand," the recording said. "They will call me a traitor. They will say I abandoned you. But the truth is harder. I made a choice to protect millions. The council would never forgive me for it, but one day you will. Inside this device are the coordinates and keys to what I hid. And only you can decide if the world is ready to see it." The officers exchanged frantic looks. One slammed his fist on the table. "Shut this thing off. This is classified heresy." But the man in the suit raised his hand, his voice sharp. "Quiet. Let him hear his father." The boy clung to the words, his whole body trembling. His father's voice was a lifeline, each sentence pulling him out of years of doubt. "You will be afraid," the voice said. "But remember, fear does not mean weakness. It means you have something to protect. I gave you this burden because I believed you could carry it, even when I could not." Then the message ended, the glow fading back into dull metal. The silence that followed was crushing. The boy bowed his head, tears streaking down his cheeks. For so long he had wondered if his father had loved him, if he had truly cared before leaving. Now he knew. His father hadn't abandoned him. He had entrusted him with something greater. The lead officer broke the silence with a harsh voice. "This proves it. He was working with aliens. He built illegal tech, recorded messages against the council. The child is carrying forbidden knowledge. We'll confiscate everything." "No," the man in the suit said firmly, stepping between them. "The boy is not evidence. He is his father's heir. That device was never yours to take." The boy looked up, his cheeks wet, but his eyes burning. "You can't take it. It's mine. He made it for me," the officer sneered. "You're just a child. You don't even understand what it means." The boy surprised even himself with his answer. "Then teach me. Or let me find out. But I won't let you steal my father again." The room grew tense. The officers shifted, unsure if they should drag him away or listen. The man in the suit stood tall, his presence radiating authority. "You heard the message. This isn't just about technology. This is about a legacy. If you bury it, you bury the truth." The boy clenched his fists, feeling strength he never thought he had. His father's shadow no longer felt heavy. It felt like armor. He wasn't just a boy with a missing leg. He was the keeper of a secret that could change everything. As the alarms blared again and voices shouted down the hall, the man in the suit leaned down close. "We need to leave, now. They'll never let this truth out." The boy looked at the prosthetic lying on the table, still faintly glowing. For the first time, he saw it not as a crutch, but as a key. He wiped his tears and nodded. "Then let's find out what he wanted me to see." And with that, the chase for his father's hidden secret began. The station was in chaos. Sirens screamed through the halls, and red lights flashed on the ceiling. Officers barked orders, their boots pounding against the floor as reinforcements poured in. Somewhere in that storm of confusion, a boy with one leg and a man in a dark suit slipped quietly through a side door. The boy leaned on the man's arm, each step uneven without his prosthetic. His heart hammered in his chest, every sound of pursuit making his body tense. But his father's words still echoed in his mind. "You are the key." Those words kept him moving. "We can't outrun them," the boy whispered. Breathless, "We don't have to," the man replied calmly. His eyes scanned every corridor. "We just have to outthink them. Your father would expect nothing less." They turned sharply down a maintenance passage, where the lights were dim and the smell of metal and oil filled the air. The man pressed a panel on the wall, and the hidden door slid open with a hiss. He ushered the boy inside, shutting it just as voices thundered behind them. The small space was lined with pipes and wires. It felt claustrophobic, but at least it was safe for the moment. The boy slumped against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. "Why are they after me? Why is everyone afraid of my father's secret?" The man crouched beside him, his voice low. Because your father discovered something the council wanted buried. He believed peace was possible, but it required revealing truths that threatened powerful men. They chose silence. He chose action. And you, whether you like it or not, inherited that fight. The boy clenched his fists. He didn't feel like a fighter. He felt like a child who had lost his leg, his dignity, and almost his hope. Yet his father had left him this burden for a reason. Before he could answer, the walls around them shook with heavy footsteps. A new sound joined the pursuit, metallic claws scraping the ground. The man's face darkened. Not just officers. They've sent hunters. The boy's eyes widened. Hunters? Alien mercenaries, the man said grimly. Your father made enemies far beyond this planet. If they find you, they'll tear the truth out by force. The boy shivered, his fear pressing down like a weight. But then he thought of his father's voice, the warmth hidden in the message. Fear didn't mean weakness. Fear meant he had something to protect. The man helped him stand. We moved toward the old tunnels. They won't expect it. Your father's coordinates point that way. Together, they pushed deeper into the maze. The boy's hands brushed cold pipes for balance as the man guided him forward. Behind them, the sound of hunters grew louder, snarls mixed with alien speech. The chase was closing in. They burst into a wide underground chamber, dark except for flickering lights. The boy stumbled, nearly falling, but the man steadied him. Across the chamber, a broken sign pointed toward old transit lines long abandoned. This way. The man urged. The boy pushed himself forward, dragging his body across the rough floor. Every step hurt, but something inside him refused to stop. He wasn't just running for himself anymore. He was running for his father's truth. A screech tore through the chamber. From the shadows, the hunters appeared, tall, scaled creatures with glowing eyes and armor that shimmered in the dim light. Their weapons crackled with alien energy that the boy's chest seized with terror. They looked unstoppable. The man placed himself between them and the child, pulling a hidden blade from his coat. Stay behind me. The hunters advanced, their leader raising a clawed hand. The device belongs to us. The boy is nothing. The boy's fear ignited into anger. He shouted, his voice raw. I am not nothing. My father gave it to me. The hunters paused, studying him with strange expressions. The leader's eyes narrowed. His blood speaks. He carries the key. That single sentence filled the boy with a strange power. His father's blood. His father's legacy. The man seized the moment, slashing his blade across the nearest hunter. Sparks flew, and the chamber erupted into chaos. The boy crawled toward the far tunnel, heart pounding, while the clash of steel and alien growls echoed behind him. He stumbled into the dark tunnel, the air thick with dust. The man followed moments later, panting but alive, his blade stained. Keep moving, he ordered. They'll be back, the boy nodded, though his body ached. He dragged himself deeper, every sound in the tunnel magnified. For a brief moment, silence returned. Only the drip of water echoed through the cavern. Then the man pulled a small device from his pocket. It flickered with light, projecting a faint map in the air. These are the coordinates from your father's message. Whatever he wanted you to see, it lies ahead. The boy stared at the glowing map, his heart racing. He had never imagined his father's shadow would lead him here, running through tunnels with hunters at his back, chasing secrets hidden in the dark, but there was no turning back. He wiped the sweat from his brow, determination settling in. Let's find it, the man gave a faint smile. That's what your father would have said. Together, they disappeared into the tunnels, the hunt far from over. Behind them, the hunters' growls echoed again, promising the chase had only just begun. And in the boy's heart, fear and courage warred with each other, pushing him forward into a destiny he could no longer escape. The tunnels stretched endlessly, damp and echoing with every step. The boy leaned heavily on the man's arm, dragging his tired body forward. His chest burned with exhaustion, but his eyes never left the small glowing map projected from the device. It flickered faintly, pointing them deeper into the earth. At last, the passage widened into a chamber carved from stone, unlike anything built by human hands. The walls shimmered faintly with alien etchings, rooms glowing softly as if recognizing their arrival. The boy gasped, his fear momentarily forgotten. "This is it," the man said quietly, his voice reverent. "Your father's last sanctuary." The boy stepped forward on his single leg, trembling but determined. As he touched the wall, the chamber lit up. Panels shifted, and a hidden console emerged from the floor. Dust swirled in the air, glowing in the strange blue light. The man activated the console, and a hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. The boy's breath caught in his throat. It was his father, tall, broad-shouldered, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes still burning with purpose. "Son," the hologram began, his voice deep and steady. "If you stand here, then the shadows have caught up with you. I am sorry. I never wanted this burden for you, but the council gave me no choice." The boy's hands clenched. Hearing his father speak again made his chest ache, but this time there was no recording device. This felt alive, like his father was standing right there. "I was called a traitor because I refused to let war destroy us all," the hologram continued. "The council demanded victory at any cost. But I saw the truth. Victory meant extinction. Not just of our enemies, but of us as well. So I chose another path. I made a bargain." The boy's eyes widened. "A bargain?" The hologram nodded. "With the aliens we fought. I gave them knowledge, not to empower them, but to build trust. In return, they gave me time to hide what must never fall into the wrong hands. The weapon they built together with us. It could tear entire worlds apart. I could not allow it." The boy's throat tightened. All his life, he had heard whispers that his father had betrayed humanity. Now for the first time, the truth pierced through the lies. His father hadn't betrayed anyone, he'd sacrificed his name to save them all. The man in the suit folded his arms, his jaw tight. He carried this secret alone. Too many would never forgive him for making peace through betrayal. So he chose silence. "And now the truth lies with you." The hologram leaned closer, eyes fixed on the boy. "You are my heir, my hope. The coordinates stored in your prosthetic led to the vault where I hid the weapon's core. Only you can decide what to do with it. Destroy it, and the war will never return. Reveal it, and you may bring unity or chaos. That choice is yours." The chamber fell silent as the hologram faded. The boy stared at the empty space where his father had been, his mind spinning. His father had not abandoned him. He had trusted him with the most dangerous truth in the galaxy. Tears welled in his eyes, but beneath the sorrow, something stronger began to rise. For the first time, he felt proud to be his father's son. Then the silence shattered. A deep growl echoed from the tunnel behind them, followed by the sharp hiss of alien weapons. The hunters had found them. The boy spun toward the sound, his heart racing. The man pulled his blade free again, his face grim. "They won't let us leave with this knowledge." The hunters emerged, their glowing eyes fixed on the boy. Their leader's voice rumbled like thunder. "The child carries the truth. Hand him over." The boy's fear threatened to choke him, but his father's words burned in his mind. "Fear does not mean weakness. It means you have something to protect." He stood taller, balancing on his single leg. "I won't go with you," he said, his voice trembling but clear. "This truth belongs to me. To my father. To all of us." The hunters snarled, ready to strike. The man in the suit tightened his grip on his weapon, prepared to defend him with his life. But before the fight could begin, the chamber itself responded. The alien runes flared brighter, reacting to the boy's voice. The walls vibrated, and the hunters stepped back in alarm. The man glanced at the boy, eyes wide. "It's recognizing you. Your father built this place to answer only to his bloodline." The boy stared as the console surged with energy, forming a new projection, one of the weapon's core. It floated above the platform, glowing like a miniature star, raw power humming in the air. Everyone in the room froze. The hunter's eyes gleamed with hunger. The man's jaw tightened with fear. And the boy felt the weight of his father's words press down on him. Only you can decide. His father's truth was no longer a secret. It was alive in front of him, demanding a choice. The chamber glowed with blinding light. The weapon's core floated above the console like a captured star, its energy thrumming through the air, making the walls hum. The boy's hair lifted from the static, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel its power tugging at him, alive and dangerous, a reminder of what his father had sacrificed everything to hide. The hunters advanced slowly, their scaled feet scraping against the stone floor. Their leader's eyes gleamed with hunger. "Give it to us," he growled. "Your father stole it from our warlords. With it, we will finish what was started." The man in the suit stepped in front of the boy, blade raised, his voice cold. "You'll have to go through me." The boy, trembling, pushed himself forward on his one leg, placing a hand on the man's arm. "No, this isn't your fight. It's mine." His father's words echoed again. "Only you can decide." The hunters laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "A child will choose the fate of worlds?" "Yes," the boy said, louder this time, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Because I'm his son. And he trusted me." The console flared brighter, responding to his defiance. The runes along the walls burned like fire, shaking the ground. The hunters staggered, shouting in their alien tongue, but the boy stood firm. Fear still gripped him, but beneath it, courage had taken root. He looked at the weapon's core, shining like a sun. If he gave it to them, the galaxy would drown in war. If he destroyed it, no one would ever wield its power again. His father had carried that burden for years. Now it rested on his shoulders. The man in the suit whispered urgently, "Think carefully. Once you choose, there is no turning back." The boy clenched his fists. His body was weak, broken without his prosthetic, but his spirit felt stronger than ever. He thought of the day his father strapped the leg to him, of the words that made no sense then, but burned with meaning now. "This is part of who you are. One day, you'll understand." "I understand now," the boy whispered. He turned to the console, his hand hovering over the glowing runes. The hunters roared, charging forward, but the walls erupted with light, holding them back. The man shielded the boy, ready to fight if needed, but all eyes were on the child. The boy pressed his hand to the final symbol. The weapon's core pulsed violently, then began to collapse inward, folding in on itself like a dying star. The chamber shook as the energy compressed, brighter and brighter until it exploded in a flash of white light. The hunters screamed, thrown back into the tunnels. When the light faded, the core was gone, erased, destroyed forever. Silence followed, broken only by the boy's ragged breathing. He swayed on his single leg, his body weak, but his eyes burned with determination. He had made the choice. His father's burden had ended with him. The hunters, dazed and furious, dragged themselves up. Their leader snarled, his voice shaking with rage. "You fool! You destroyed it!" The boy lifted his chin, tears streaking his face, but his voice strong. "I saved it. Saved all of us. My father didn't die a traitor, he died a hero. And now everyone will know." The man in the suit stood tall beside him, his blade gleaming. "You heard him. Leave this place. The war ends here." For a moment, the hunters looked ready to strike again. But the chamber's runes pulsed once more, vibrating with the boy's bloodline. The alien leader snarled one last time, then retreated into the shadows, his warriors following. The sound of their footsteps faded into the tunnels, leaving only silence and the lingering glow of the walls. The boy sank to the ground, exhausted, his body trembling. The man knelt beside him, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. "You did what even your father could not. You ended it." The boy closed his eyes, his father's voice echoing in his memory one last time. "Fear does not mean weakness. It means you have something to protect." When he opened them again, he no longer felt like the broken child everyone pitied. He felt like his father's son, strong, defiant, and ready to carry the truth. They climbed out of the tunnels together. The night sky stretched above them, stars scattered across the darkness. For the first time, the boy looked up at those stars without fear. Somewhere out there, his father had fought, sacrificed, and died for peace. And here on the ground, his son had finished what he started. The man in the suit looked at him with quiet respect. "The world will know the truth now. About him. About you," the boy nodded. "Then let's show them." And as they walked into the starlit night, the boy's missing leg no longer felt like his weakness. It felt like proof of the path he had taken, one that turned pain into strength and shadows into light. The legacy of his father was no longer hidden. It lived on in him.